being that it is. Kalamazoo can currently call 1,403 young people its students. This, as every website I search to find this figure reminds me, is an exceedingly small number. I have friends in incredibly prestigious schools around this state that remark regularly on just how small a number 1,403 is. We as a school claim to be a fellowship in learning that does more in four, and do all this within a few blocks. We explore new aspects of our identity, we grow into adults, and we learn more than we ever thought we would, all in an airtight sphere referred to as the K-bubble. Within this K-bubble, I have worked to make my mark as SHAG co-president. With the constant help of the fabulous Athena Curtis, I have worked to try and make this little biosphere of awkwardness a little bit sexier. We, along with our gallant board and trustee members, have attempted to open the dialogue on sex to the campus as a whole. A campus this small cannot pass up the opportunity to keep this community open. When we allow discussions on sex to be dominated by a few branches of the college, or a few student organizations, or a select few students, we lose our greatest strength. If I do one thing this year, I hope that I convince a few students who haven't had sex, aren't sure how to talk about it, or are somehow convinced that their views matter, that they belong in this conversation, that they belong in here today. Sex positivity is our goal. From a social standpoint, one shouldn't have to be a woman to be informed on the abortion debate. One shouldn't have to be queer to be an ally. And from a sexual standpoint, imagine if 1,403 vibrant young K students knew where the clitoris, prostate, G-spot, and femur were. I wrote a few seconds into my speech to wait to be struck down. But I think I'm good. The potential of having 1,403 sex-positive, intelligent, and engaged K students is huge. I think we all know that. But the marginal cost of lacking this positivity is simply too high. The cost is too great because our community rests in a house divided by sexual assault. I have seen classes, friendships, and lives rent apart by these conflicts. Countless students on this campus are forced to see their assailant or accuser daily. Having a small campus doesn't prevent us from having to look over our shoulders. On the contrary, it's why I feel we have to. When the issue of sexual assault continues to only be addressed by rumor and accusation, we will bleed our hopes for unity daily. On our second day on campus, we learned the strict definition of legal, direct, verbal consent. This is right, and I applaud our campus for this. But for the last 2 years in Dalton, I have seen young minds slammed shut as a middle-aged woman who, despite all of her assertions to the contrary, looks a lot like Mom, comes and tells us who we can and can't have sex with. This year, one of the peers in a seminar I helped to lead, after learning in detail about our policies towards alcohol and consent, said that alcohol makes girls more open, gesturing with his hands as I am now. So what didn't this student hear? I'm sure everyone in this room has been told the definition of consent. What I hope to tell you today is that we need to be better towards each other. We need to know our partner's desires, fears, and wants. We need to respect them. Consent is trust. And when we all are informed about our needs and desires, we can do some incredible things. My partner listened to me when I said no the first several times. It was awkward, but the trust built almost 2 years ago opened doors that I never even thought existed. And that excitement is what consent is. The promise of a future where trust can take us to incredible places. So what do we have to do? We have to work together. Together we can pledge to know ourselves so others can get to know us just a little bit better. And this new openness must not simply be available to ANSO and women's studies majors, or to the wonderful people in the counseling center. We need virgins, introverts, party animals, first years, seniors, and all the rest to be able to talk about their sexual needs. Because when we know ourselves, we can begin to learn to understand others, and acceptance is rooted in understanding. Our school's defining virtue is social justice, and the size of our campus enables us to make that virtue a reality, but this can only be achieved through openness. Sexual assault is a crime which we all know thrives too well on silence. We cannot give it that silence. When we make it our mission that every student comes today knowing the opportunity of openness, honesty, and trust in their partner, we will bind our community tight through bonds of intimacy. How else could we right the wrongs of this school? How else could the problem of misconduct through miscommunication be fixed but through the normalization of openness? What could combat the idea of a market-based sex culture than a humanization of the needs of others? And how else could we strike a blow against rape culture than by accepting and respecting the needs and desires of others? We must sympathize with others' sexuality, and we must be open about that sympathy. Let that sympathy be our cause, and let that openness be our resolve. With those behind us, we will heal the hurt to our community that sexual assault has wrought. A hero of mine, Albert Camus, once said that there exists a class of people known as true healers, and that through the path of sympathy and solidarity, they seek peace for themselves and others. Together, we can make this school a safer place to love. Thank you. If anyone is interested, Andrea Johnson and I have been planning a student-led discussion of sexual assault at K, and the more students who come, the more good I think we can do. That is scheduled for Wednesday of 7th week at 7 in the Hicks Banquet Hall. And the week before that, the indomitable Shade Sutherland is holding a similar discussion on her